Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of This Week in Raider Basketball. I'm Nick Rush, and today we're going to be talking about how your Raider basketball team has been doing as we now reached a holiday break. And before we get into any of our discussions on today's broadcast, I would just like to say I understand it's been quite a while ever since we had another episode of This Week in Raider Basketball, but we are back. It's been a pretty busy holiday break, and as I say that, I would just like to say I hope all of the listeners out there have had a great, joyful, restful break. Hope everyone's had a fun time. So let's catch up with your Riverdale Raider varsity basketball team, and let's see how they've been doing. Currently in Class 7A District 12 standings, they are last, and we'll tell you about how each of those three teams in the division are doing. We start up top with the Northport Bobcats, who are 6 wins and 7 losses. Pretty interesting. They're in the top spot, but they're just below the 500 win percentage. They're 2-0 when playing against district rivals, meaning they defeated both Gulf Coast and Riverdale this season. Gulf Coast is second place. The Sharks, coached by Philip Johnson, are 5-7 overall this year. 1-1 in the districts. They defeated Riverdale, but lost to Northport earlier on this season. Riverdale is also 5-7, but they are 0-2 playing against district rivals. They lost to both Gulf Coast and the Northport Bobcats. The good news for the Riverdale Raiders is that they are 5-7 on the overall regular season record. So if they can have a few lucky bounces come their way and they can get their season back on track, then I feel like it's a great opportunity for them to slide up into that number 2 spot and leave Gulf Coast behind, but that's going to be easier said than done because Gulf Coast, without a doubt, they are a very talented basketball team. Now it's time to see what those three teams are going to be doing during the holiday break. All three teams will be in action throughout the break, and we'll start off with the first place Northport Bobcats. They'll be in action on December 28th at 3 p.m. at Northport High School when they play against Covington High School, coming all the way from Covington, Ohio. What a road trip. So Covington, as you can imagine, coming off of the huge road trip, I feel like Northport has the advantage in that ball game. So I'm very curious to see how that game is going to play out. Gulf Coast, they are going to be playing in the Gulf Shore Shootout. They'll be playing on December 27th at 12 p.m. when they play against St. Viator High School, who is also traveling long distance from Arlington Heights, Illinois. So once again, I feel like Gulf Coast, they have a big advantage in that game. St. Viator, however, they are 7-0 on the year, so they're undefeated. So that's going to be a big game of talent. The Riverdale Raiders are going to be in action tonight as I record this podcast on December 26th. At 6:30 p.m. when they play against Immokalee High School. It's a neutral site ball game as the two teams play as a part of the Gulf Shore Holiday Hoop Fest at Barron Collier High School. So both teams are going to be at Barron Collier, but it's going to be Riverdale versus Immokalee. Immokalee, they're known as the Indians, and they have been in an all-out struggle this season. They are 0-11, no wins, 11 losses. So Riverdale, they need to capitalize on the struggles that Immokalee is currently having this season. So let's hope everything goes well. Be sure to support your Riverdale Raiders on the road this evening when they play at the Holiday Hoop Fest, once again at Barron Collier High School. The next home game the Riverdale Raiders are going to play, it's going to be next year in 2016 when they play on January 12th. Against the Gulf Coast Sharks. It's another district game coming their way. You remember, Riverdale lost to Gulf Coast earlier this season, so they're looking for revenge. Gulf Coast won that first ball game 59-48. So let's see what Riverdale can do when they play at home at the Raider Rock Gym against Gulf Coast. 7 p.m. tip-off for that ball game. Tickets are $4, so be sure to come out once again and join us for some fun. Now, I understand, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, it's been quite a while ever since we made another episode, and quite a few games have went by. The Raiders fell on some hard times, so let's talk about their hard times as they went on a 5-game losing streak very recently. Well, we'll pick up the schedule from episode 1, and we'll start by recapping the Riverdale versus Sarasota Booker matchup on December 4th at Riverdale High School. Sarasota Booker came to Riverdale, played hard. Both teams went back and forth in the action. It certainly was exciting, and I did a commentary podcast on that game, which you can find on my channel. Listen to the commentary of the game and see how it all played out. It was very epic. It went down to the final seconds. Riverdale had the chance to win with a pair of free throws. They could not convert on either one, and Booker came away with the very lucky 82-80 final score. Raiders trying to get that bad taste out of their mouth as they played against Northport, their division rival, 4 days later on December 8th. Raiders fall in another tough one, 56-52. On December 11th, Riverdale played at Gulf Coast. That's the district game I was talking about a few moments ago. But back-to-back district games for RHS, and the Raiders drop another tough one, 59-48 was your final score. We head into December 15th. Riverdale returns home to the Raider Rock Gym to take on the Fort Myers Green Wave. Raiders, they hung in there with Green Wave, but Fort Myers came away with the win. 77-67 is what the scoreboard read at the end of regulation. This was an epic contest. A night later, on the 16th, Riverdale traveled up to Sarasota to play a rematch against Booker, who are known as the Tornadoes. Tornadoes once again hanging in there with Riverdale, and they are able to pick up another game in the win column, 65-59. That will extend Riverdale's losing streak to 5 games at this point, and finally Riverdale is able to end the madness on the 18th of December when they blew out Seacrest Country Day by a 62-34 score. Wow, that certainly was madness for the Raiders. And Seacrest Country Day, they've fallen on some difficult times this season. They are 2-7 at the moment on the 2015-16 regular season. But in my honest opinion, it doesn't matter who you play against. If you have a large losing streak on your back, you're putting off a lot of pressure with a win. Once again, regardless of who you're playing against. So Raiders pick up the win, 62-34, and that makes them 5-7 overall on the season. Once again, the Raiders' next matchup is going to be tonight, December 26, 6:30 p.m. tip-off, Riverdale versus Immokalee, which is being played at Baron Collier High School as a part of the Gulf Shore Holiday Hoop Fest. Next home game, keep in mind Raiders, is going to be on January 12th at 7 p.m. Riverdale versus Gulf Coast at the Raider Rock Gym. It's a district contest, so once again, come out, support your Raiders. Tickets are $4, and it's going to be fun. That's all I can tell you. So we'll see how the Raiders hang in there, and we'll see you for our next episode as we are going to wrap things up here in episode number 2. This is Nick Rush saying thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you for episode 3. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great remainder of your holiday season, and a happy new year.